Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back. So, I do want to talk about, I guess a few things here that I've missed over the last couple of weeks here. I know I haven't done a video in a while. I'll talk about it towards the end of the video here. There's actually some really big news here. Well, potential big news anyways. And I think that it is actually really exciting. And that is that Scott Gimple was actually spotted with Andrew Lincoln in London. And so I do want to talk about what that could mean, because obviously Andrew Lincoln said like last month or whatever that there were conversations happening about his return to The Walking Dead. So, I want to get into all that. So before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. Now, I've been seeing a lot of this on Twitter, just sort of in general. Andrew Lincoln was spotted with Gimple, and it was in London. And I will say, it does seem like it was like after a show or something like that, because it looks like Andrew Lincoln is still doing the theater run and all that over there, right? So I think that, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, obviously, like Scott Gimple and like whoever, from The Walking Dead is probably going to go and see that play if they can, right? If they have free time, they're probably going to go. Now, I think what's really interesting, about this is the fact that Andrew Lincoln said like last month that there's conversations happening right now about his return to The Walking Dead. I do think that if that wasn't actually a thing that was said, then none of this would really, like, I think we would talk about it still, but we really would be just wondering more like, what does this mean kind of thing, right? But actually seeing both of them together in London, and you can find the pictures on Twitter. They're just kind of everywhere. And to me, I think that it just makes sense that, like, obviously Scott Gimple was going to go see the play. And I think that, they're probably just hanging out because they are friends as well. And obviously, if there's conversations happening about his return, I mean, maybe they had dinner or they just like hung out afterwards or the next day or like beforehand and like talked about a lot of stuff, right? And I think that it's really good news. Like, the one thing too is, there's also that possibility where they're having these conversations and maybe it just doesn't go anywhere. And it's like, yeah, you know what? Maybe we'll just end Rick's story there. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that would be honestly really surprising. Like, I would be so surprised if after all of that, Andrew Lincoln was just like, nah, I think I'm done, right? Like, obviously he's talked about wanting to return and like certain things he wants done with the story specifically. When you look back to Before the Ones Who Live, there were a lot of moments where, Andrew Lincoln would meet with Scott Gimple, and it was always in person too. Like, that's the kind of cool thing about the whole thing, right? Like, and it was always in person, obviously, that we saw, right? And so it's kind of cool to think that it is kind of cool to think that they are likely working on something right now. Like, this is likely going to be something that does happen in the next, year or two for sure. Like, I don't even think we're gonna have to wait 2 years for an announcement. I think that they are likely going to announce Rick's return to The Walking Dead at some point from now up until Comic-Con, because I'm just trying to look at it based off of, I guess the show's coming out. And I don't think they're going to let, season 4 of Daryl Dixon finish airing next year in the fall. And then there's just like no clear, direction of The Walking Dead afterwards. Like, everything's just done and it's quiet. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to do that. I think that's why there's a lot of conversations happening right now, because they do want to get something worked out here and something, maybe filming like next year or like the year after. I mean, that's the one thing that I will say is TV shows right now, they are coming out a lot faster now. And I think the reason is, there's a lot of different reasons for that. But like, The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon season 4 is going to be 8 episodes. And they're supposed to be done filming like this month at the end of the month, which is definitely a lot faster than I think was originally planned. But I think that they are just able to get a lot of this done, faster. And if you look at The Walking Dead Dead City, like, they're going to be filming season 3 into 2026 a little bit. And, that show is likely coming out when? In the spring, most likely, right? So when I'm looking at The Walking Dead overall, like, it does just seem like these shows are coming out a lot faster. And I think that for season 4, honestly, I do think that this show, of The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, I think the only reason why it's going to come out in September next year is really just because of the release date, right? Like, they've always had a September release date, so they'll probably just stick with that. Is there a possibility that Dead City season 3 could be out like right after that? I could see that being a possibility. I'm trying to think of, maybe they just go all out with The Walking Dead next year, right? Like, they'll do 8 episodes in September up until, mid-November, I guess the end of, or not mid-November, but mid-October, end of October. And then they do Dead City right after that, going into December. I don't think they would do that because that's 16 episodes straight. Like, that's a full season of The Walking Dead. They've never done that before. So Dead City, I'm assuming, is going to be out in the spring. Like, it really depends on how fast they're able to get a lot of this together here. Like, I am really interested in Dead City and how that's coming out, because like, what is there only going to be one Walking Dead show next year? Like literally season 4 of Daryl Dixon in September. Will Dead City be able to come out, in the spring? We'll have to wait and see on how quick they're able to, do a lot of this here. But I imagine that will be sort of what is the plan, unless they're going to push that off until 2027. But I just find that insane, because honestly, Dead City is that one show that it is kind of frustrating when you look at, how the show has been released, because season 1 came out in 2023, season 2, 2025, and then season 3, 2027. Like, that show, I think it's kind of unfortunate that, I feel like the show could be a lot better if it came out yearly, but it's not in a sense. So we'll have to wait and see with this season. I think that's why I'm really interested in Dead City's filming schedule and how that show is going to come out, because like you would assume that it's likely going to be, early or spring, I guess, spring, summer or whatever of 2026. And there's a rumor that, they're going to be doing season 4 as well. So, I mean, yeah, we'll have to wait and see obviously on that. But that's why I think that, the plan to get Andrew Lincoln to come back and everything, like they're obviously having conversations right now. And I really wonder, what they're working on. Obviously, it is the story. There's a lot of things like that. Like the one thing that I think will be a big focus for that show is not having so much of, I guess the Rick and Michonne like finding each other and like the family aspect. Because I think that as much as I really loved that for The Ones Who Live, and I think it was really the most important step in that story, like there was no way you could just like jump right into survival stuff and all of that and just like completely ignore that, the whole family thing of him going missing and they're trying to find him and everything like ever existed, because obviously that was super important, right? So I think that having the characters find each other and just like focus on all of that was really, I think, something that the show needed to do. But I think going forward here, you do need to focus more on the survival aspect to it. I think that is something a lot of us would really love to see. I think, that was one of the criticisms of The Ones Who Live, was like, we were sort of promised like Red Machete Rick. And even though there were some scenes where it seemed like it wasn't really that. Like, it really was not that. And I think that obviously to get into that mindset, like, I mean, it would be, at this point, it would be hard for Rick to get back into that mindset. So you would have to do certain things to make it like that again, right? But I think having that simplistic survival horror aspect is something that they definitely need to focus on. And obviously we heard Andrew Lincoln talking about that. The fact that Andrew Lincoln mentioned that in interviews before, I think tells me a lot of, that's probably where they're going. Like, that's why, honestly, when it comes to like interviews and things like that in general, like that's why I really follow what a lot of the actors say, especially Andrew Lincoln, because obviously his input on like what he wants with Rick Grimes going forward is something that Gimple is going to be like, all right, well, let's do that, right? So I think that that's going to be, the next show. I really do believe that. And now we're just kind of waiting for an announcement, right? Like, when is that going to happen? So anyways, I'm gonna leave it here though. Definitely post all your thoughts down below on all of this here. I think that definitely it's really cool to see that they're kind of hanging out and doing whatever. Obviously, this was at a show and whatever. I think that it's obviously really cool that, they are working on stuff right now. I just really wonder the timeline of everything. Like, like I'm looking at the last couple of years and they've announced things during the holiday season, quite a bit. So like, could we get an announcement at the very end of the year? Because sometimes it happens at the very end of November, early December, end of December. Actually, I think with Fear the Walking Dead, it happened in very early January, where they announced that it was going to be the final season, like season 8. So really at any point, my guess is that for the rest of the year here, there's going to be some stuff like that. I think that there will be a lot of Daryl Dixon final season stuff. And then I think going into 2026, that's where, if they make an announcement at all, it's going to be a pretty big announcement, because if you think about it, once it turns to 2026, it's like, this is a new year. The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon is ending this year. It's like actually here, it's going to happen. Like the ending is here for that show. And what's next? And I think that's where AMC is going to, like, just because they've done a lot of things recently where they're talking about the future and like, it's not ending, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of teases about what's happening next. And so they're going to have to start to announce a lot of that, right? So I'm expecting that very, very soon here, maybe at the very end of the year here, or going into early 2026, like right into January, we'll get some sort of announcement. But yeah, anyways, yeah, I'll leave it here. I apologize that I haven't posted in the last couple of weeks. I actually got like really, really sick. Like, I mean, honestly, I've been like really burnt out for like the last, I would say, year. And like, it has nothing to do with like covering The Walking Dead or like anything like that. It really has had to do more with my personal life and a lot of just like motivation and things like that. Like it's been, like it's been a while. I moved into a different place. Like I was living in my previous place for like 10 years almost. And like, it's just been a very crazy year and I've been very, very burnt out. And if you've noticed that I haven't posted a lot and there's been these big breaks in between here and there, that's really why. And I do have, the inspiration to keep going again. Like I have that inspiration back, and that happened to me last month actually, where I felt really good to keep posting and everything. And then I got sick for like, I would say 2 weeks. I got better a couple of days ago, but I've just been I've been trying to relax a little bit because I felt better a few days before that. And then I just like got back to working and doing stuff. And then I got really sick again. And so I was like trying to just like rest a little bit. And yeah, now I feel definitely 100% for sure. So yeah, I will just say that I'm not feeling as burnt out anymore. And I think really there's just changes that I want to make, right? In terms of the type of content that I want to post. I do want to do shorts and just more exciting stuff like the live streams and all of that. So I will be back with that this Sunday. And yeah, I'm feeling, re-energized with everything. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to say that here at the very end because I know not everyone necessarily cares. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that because that's sort of been the thing that's, been going on all year. But anyways, I'm gonna leave it here. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. Hope you all enjoyed the video and I'll see you in the next one.